If you don't like intro, skip to this timestamp. Hello and welcome back to the Ultimate Doom Iceberg. Today we are going into Hurt Me Plenty. I'm going to be real. I am looking back at this chart. It's been over a year since I've made it, and it's kind of a mess. I organized it from most well-known to least known, and the more I make these videos, the more I realize this order is just kind of completely BS. Okay, this wasn't removed. I don't know why I put removed. I think I heard someone say this was removed in an update, but no, it wasn't. I talked about it in the first video I did, but this is confirmed to be the Slayer's wife and child. Hugo Martin confirmed this in his developer live stream.
What about Doom Guy, Doomslayer family? There is a photo under the desk in the Fortress of Doom.
That's his wife and kid. It's his wife and kid before all of this stuff happened.
Now this raises a lot of questions. Is this during his time in Argent de Newer, or is this during the 1993 games? Which I think it's the latter, because that uniform looks a lot like a Marine uniform. I don't think it's of Night Sentinel origin. The Dark Ages comes out in like a month at the time I'm recording this. That kind of puts a date of how long it takes me to make these videos, but I really hope they go into more detail about his family and his past. They could talk about if his wife and child died before the demon invasion or after the demon invasion of the 1993 games. Was Daisy a therapy animal? Was Daisy the pet of his daughter, son? I'm assuming that's a daughter. Maybe he named Daisy after his wife, after his child. But this does kind of throw a wrench in the whole Doom Guy doesn't know what sex is tweet, unless it's like a Goku situation. In the original 1993 games, the weapon sprites go way past the screen. You can just never see them because of the status bar, and they're also kind of cropped out. You can see them with mods or just by looking at the sprite sheets. It's really neat to see the whole model because I love the art of Doom, as I've said countless times. And just seeing more of that and like kind of looking at the more intricate things of the rocket launcher, the BFG, and like imagining how that would work is pretty neat. In development, id Software wanted to have more inclusivity with the game's fans, so they added the Mincubus. Self-deprecating humor! When it sees you, it makes this noise. And there's a lot of debate of what it's saying. John Romero says it's saying men blah blah blah, but most famously people hear hum. The actual sound is just a slowed down version of a pig squeal, but some people will just deny this. He's definitely saying hump your mom. In the early days of the FPS genre, everyone called anything and everything that was similar to Doom a Doom clone. It was kind of a blanket statement for anything that was first person, kind of like how people today are like, oh, this is a Souls-like if you can dodge roll. The Amiga wasn't able to run Doom, so a lot of clones were made for it. I mean, one was literally called just Gloom. Quickly after Quake's release, though, everything stopped being a Doom clone and everything started being a Quake killer. So this is most likely talking about the imp's butthole that's just clearly seen. It could be a shadow. It's probably not a shadow. You can see it in Doom 64. Probably not a shadow. In Doom 3, it's heavily implied that humans are Martians. This is because the stone tablets that are found suggest that the Martians created teleporters to teleport to Earth to escape the demon invasions. And now, here's a little theory of mine. In some of the teasers for Dark Ages, we've been seeing the Lost City of Hebeth, which is on Mars, which what if the Doom 3 people are the Argenta, and the Argenta created the Soul Cube, which would make sense because we see the Soul Cube in Doom 2016 and Eternal, and those might just be Easter eggs, but I'm getting ahead of myself because we have a Doom 3 is canon entry, which is a whole lot of stuff, but They might tie stuff into Doom 3. They just announced that one of the enemies has the same name as the spider enemy. What is it called? The Vagary. Which I don't know if that's really tying it in because four-legged enemy, spider enemy. I don't see how that automatically makes something the same enemy, but whatever. And in Doom 3, they talk about the warrior who saved all of them. And if you look on the stone tablets, it's just Doom Guy, which I thought this was just an Easter egg and it was a completely different warrior, but it would now make sense if when Doom Guy gets to Argent de Newer, he becomes their hero, their warrior, and then when demons get too much when he's gone, they all escape to Earth. After id Software went through like a bunch of copyright stuff, They just decided to give the community the source code of the game, which led to people creating source ports, which are just recreations of the game's engine that sometimes optimize it, sometimes revolutionize it. Some are good, some are bad, some have all their own unique features, glitches. One of the most popular ones being ZDoom. Some source ports allow for more enemies, some more complex geometry. It would take all day to list what these things can do and the sheer amount of different ports there are. After Wolf 3D's success, id Software began negotiating with 20th Century Fox to make an Alien promo game. But last minute, it bailed because they wanted complete creative control, and that just wasn't going to happen with the licensed property. John Carmack basically said, what if we did the same thing except with Hellspawn instead of aliens? Romero says this was slightly influenced by the aftermath of one of their D&D campaigns, which the end of it came about because demons had overrun the entire planet and destroyed the whole game. One of the many categories in Doom speedrunning is UV Pacifist. This basically just means completing the entire level without harming any monsters. This includes indirect explosions from barrels and crushers. Some levels are considered impossible to beat this way, but some have done the impossible, such as 4 Shock Blast and E2M8, somehow figuring out that you can kill the cyber demon with a lost soul and somehow manage to do it. It's kind of possible to beat the Icon of Sin on UV Pacifist, but this would require you to be extremely lucky for multiple archviles to spawn, launching you into the Icon of Sin's head, which it has to kill you because you're too tall, so you have to die for your height to be set to 0, and just maybe having those explosive flames hit Romero's head. This was done by Zero Master using a tool-assisted speedrun, which I think is the only way you're going to do it because archviles have like a 0.7 chance of spawning. During QuakeCon, to build hype, they showed off an early rendition of the Mars Core opening cutscene. There's a lot of differences to the cutscene, such as unfinished voice acting, different sound effects, but the Slayer still grabs the plasma rifle from the UAC guard, which is strange because you get it in Exaltia. For the longest time, I just assumed you were originally meant to get the plasma rifle only once you got to Mars Core, but Hugo Martin debunked this, saying that it was always meant to be obtained in Exaltia, so the cutscene's just probably there to make Doom Guy more intimidating. In an homage to the predecessor of Doom, in map 15 of Doom 2, you can find a secret exit that goes to a secret level that is a nearly one-to-one recreation of floor 1 from Wolfenstein. And if you find the super secret exit to the super secret level, you can play map 32, which is Gross, that word. But if you play the map today with a modern port of Doom, you're gonna notice there's none of those German soldier Nazis. I believe this started with the BFG editions of the game, where they got rid of all swastikas, all of Hitler's mustache, and in the BFG edition, they just replaced the SS officers with zombie men. This is likely because they want a smooth release in Germany, because if you didn't know, in Germany, you cannot have the swastika anywhere. But in 2018, the ban was lifted for video games because they were considered an art form. Before the ban was lifted in 2018, using any banned symbols would prevent a video game from being considered for a compulsory age rating, which would basically ban it from being sold. Which is weird because not all countries have that, so I assume it's because they didn't want to ship out a completely separate game. But it's also weird we still have that censorship today. What's weird too is the BFG edition version is just really weird, like they wanted it to be completely censored. The map's not called Wolfenstein, it's called IDKFA for some reason. The music is replaced with just the track Doom. The BFG edition is just really weird despite id Software saying they weren't going to make any modifications to it, which is strange because in 2006 when they released Doom for the Xbox Arcade, it had no censorship. Take that with a grain of salt because I was like 7 when my brother had an Xbox 360 and we didn't have Xbox Live for Xbox Arcade. So the Xbox Arcade app just kind of sat there for me while I would look around the menu. And I would end up just playing Minecraft or Doritos Crash Course, but I'm getting off topic. During the development of Doom, 7 clay models were made of the characters, including the at the time unknown player character. The Baron of Hell, the Cyber Demon, were sculpted by Adrian Carmack, which soon proved to be a very long as well as time-consuming process, so they outsourced to Gregor Punchatz, which I'm sorry if I butchered that name. I love this guy's work. Owner of the TXFX company. They had him build the rest of the models, the Archvile, Mancubus, Revenant, and Spider Demon, which although the monsters were meant to appear in the first game, only the Spider Demon would make the appearance, which as we know the others wouldn't be used until Doom 2. The models were scanned into sprites with 8 different angles using a video camera and John Carmack's program, Fuzzy Pumper Palette Shop, and yes, that is what it was called. The scans were then finished by rescaling, recoloring, and animating them in the Doom Engine's 256 color graphics format. This procedure saved Adrian and the assistant artist Kevin Cloud a ton of work, and they only had to draw a few character sprite sets from scratch. Some of the models that survived today had to be reskinned by Punchhat upon its request, after wear and tear, leaving us without the original designs. The Mancubus sprites and facial details are a little different, the Revenant's metallic armor is missing. If you watch the I Enjoy series with my awful audio editing, I'm sorry, you know how completely normal I am about the clay models. I don't know what it is. I love how they look, and they were shown off at QuakeCon, and I really wish I saw them, but that happened before I was a Doom fan. Yes, I know, I'm a fraud. I've only been a Doom fan for 5 years, and in those 5 years, I have become this. Punchats was again commissioned to do designs for Doom 64, creating real clay models that were then referenced by Midway's artist, who then created high-quality 3D models that were then scanned into the sprites, which means there are high-quality renders and 3D models of the Doom 64 monsters, and I would kill to have those uploaded or at the very least shown off in full quality. At one point, Doom 3 was going to use clay models that were created by Kenneth Scott, Seneca Menard, and other members of the Doom 3 art team. But since the game uses 3D meshes for the characters instead of sprites, the models weren't created to be photographed, and generally only half of the monsters had models made. The models were then refined in ZBrush, much more efficiently than they could with the hardware at the time. According to Kenneth Scott, a process similar to that used for Doom was initially considered for the use of Doom 3, where physical models of the enemies would be scanned to create 3D models. To test the process, the first model using normal maps created for Doom 3 was derived from a partial scan of Punchhat's Spider Mastermind model. I've talked about it so many times, but I love how the models look. I don't know what it is. Look, I made this in Nomad Sculpt out of inspiration. I don't know what to call it. I love how Doom's clay models look. Okay, I do not know how to say this guy's username. Zaus54, I think. Sorry if that's wrong. Inspired by Doom 2016, made this portrait of the Slayer and Daisy and uploaded it to ArtStation. When a Did Software employee was looking for Doom fan art, he came across the piece and reached out to him to have it put in the game. I've heard some sources say it just put it in without asking him first, but nevertheless, the artist was probably thrilled either way. Zaus54 was no stranger to id fan art, as he won the 2017 QuakeCon art contest with this piece, as well as stating Doom revitalized his artistic drive. In Thy Flesh Consumes first level, you can find the 9 Inch Nails logo in a secret area of the level. Later with Trent Reznor, id Software's next game Quake would feature sound and music by the band's frontman. In addition to this, the ammunition for the nail gun and super nail gun at Creative Nails would be inscribed with NIN, or the 9 Inch Nails logo, on each of its faces. The Easter egg is notably absent in the Sega Saturn and PlayStation ports. The alpha version of Doom is strange to look at. With how much Doom is just recognizable, screenshots of the alpha build look like if someone who've never played Doom just photoshopped a bunch of the sprites together. You can tell it was going to have a lot more of a story focus, based mostly on the Doom Bible by Tom Hall. There was going to be dialogue, several different weapon sprites that look like unfinished versions, and some that were just completely scrapped. You can see other Marine sprites, implying that there was going to be more characters, not just Doom Guy. You have this weapon with a bayonet on it. There's even this screen that says Doom Evil Unleashed. There's a bunch of little text that says, don't let this get out. It's very neat to look at because you can tell it's between Doom and Wolfenstein, which, duh, but you can just tell based on the geometry, they weren't experimenting too far yet with how far they could push the limit of this engine. There's mods like Doom Delta, which try to recreate the feeling of Doom Alpha and even try to go in the direction it might have originally meant to go. There's even a video on YouTube you can find called A Trip to id Software, which is literally just a time capsule to 1993 before Doom's release. You can see an early version of the game. Several early renditions of the HUD, which I don't know if you've been following me on my accounts, but I've recently been obsessed with sci-fi helmets because this game. And I love heads-up displays and helmets, and I want that to be a real thing. And I love this. And I'm getting another hyperfixation. I might have to talk to my therapist about how obsessive I am about this game and its aesthetic. Doom World founder and longtime community member Andrew Stein, back in March 7th of 2004, made a post of a Mock magazine article stating, "Pro tip, to kill the cyber demon, shoot it until it dies," as a parody of early game guides. Later in Doom 2016, when defeating the cyber demon, you get the achievement, "Shoot it until it dies." As well in Doom Eternal, if you're killed by a tyrant, you can get the loading screen tip, "Shoot it until it dies." Known as Marine Doom, in 1996, Generals Charles C. Krulak issued a directive to improve military thinking and decision-making exercises. Krulak entrusted Marine Combat Development Command with developing a computer-based war game to train U.S. Marines, specifically when time and opportunities were limited. U.S. Marine simulation experts received a commercial copy of Doom and used it to develop a simulation that focused on mutual fireteam support, protection of the automatic rifleman, proper sequencing of an attack, ammunition discipline, and succession of command. The code is a modified version of the commercial Doom 2 and requires a copy of it to run. Later in 1997, GT Interactive acquired the rights to distribute Marine Doom. In simple terms, telefragging is just when you teleport into a monster and kill it. An example of this can be done in E4M2 Perfect Hatred. This can be done to other players in multiplayer matches, and this can negate invulnerability or invincibility, because invincibility only protects the player from attacks that do less than 1,000 points of damage, and telefragging deals 10,000 points. Monsters can't telefrag players in most situations. The only time they can do this is in map 30 of any WOD. This is hard-coded into every map 30 to prevent the Icon of Sin spawner cubes hitting another monster and trapping them forever. This causes some WODs that use map 30 for a non-Icon of Sin fight to have some issues with monsters teleporting into a certain area. Some source ports have an option to make every map act as map 30 where monsters can telefrag anything. But they couldn't top it. They blew us away with Super Turbo Turkey Puncher, then they revolutionized the genre with Super Turbo Turkey Puncher 2, and now they gave us Super Turbo Turkey Puncher 3, the best video game of all time. Nabcom has done it again, and they will forever, time and time again, blow me away. And now, all we can do is sit back and wait for Super Turbo Turkey... I can't even say it, man. This is a stupid bit. Super Turbo Turkey Puncher 3 is a recurring Easter egg in Doom, which first appeared in Doom 3, not really as an Easter egg, but more as just a time waster. The only point of the game is to just punch turkeys. Each tier of turkey takes a number of punches to kill, with the score varying on the Doom Marine's timing of the punches. Once you kill a turkey, another one just falls into place while gobbling. In Doom 3's original release, there's not really any point of playing the game, but if you somehow manage to get a score of 25,000 or more, the Marine will get an email on his PDA from UAC Human Resources. Congratulations! You set a new high score in Super Turbo Turkey Puncher 3. Your parents can rest easier knowing that they have raised another shining example of humanity due to the incredible amount of time you wasted punching poor defenseless turkeys. Your vacation time has been docked 2 days. Have a nice day. Along with this in the BFG edition, you can get the achievement Killing Time. You can also find the arcade cabinet in Doom 2016 as well, to waste even more time. Along with this, in November of 2020, you got the Thanksgiving event, which has a wide variety of references to Super Turbo Turkey Puncher 3. I thought ZDoom was going to be like Zandronium and Skulltag, where I could hardly find anything on it. But no, ZDoom is still going around today. I was able to download it and even jump in a server, which I had no idea what was going on, but there were some very lovely people who were explaining the thing to me, and they were like, yeah, this probably isn't a entry-level server, but it kind of explained what ZDoom was to me. In basic terms, it's multiplayer Doom, has support for a lot of different Doom mods. It was based off of Skulltag, and its main goal is to bring multiplayer Doom into the 21st century. It tries its best to keep the roots of Doom and why it's so beloved today, while also trying to modernize it, with servers supporting up to 64 players. It has support for a large number of ZDoom and GZDoom mods that were made before 2014 and earlier. And I just want to give a huge shout out to Doom Daniel and Odyssey of Noises. I joined their server and was just a complete noob, and they were very welcoming. So if you guys are watching this, thank you for your kindness. I have a really hard time. I get really intimidated by online interactions, so that made me feel really welcome. So thank you. You guys are awesome people. I don't know what unearthed sprites means. I'm assuming it means later found unused sprites from the game. Unused frames. There's some rotations that are missing in some of the attacking animations. A lot of these were repurposed for Legacy of Rust, the old Lost Soul sprite now being the ghoul. The Mindweaver is Arachnotron, but instead of the plasma gun, it has a chain gun. There's this frame of the Spider Mastermind. There's tons and tons of sprites that were unused, and I'm assuming this is what that meant. I thought this was going to be simple to explain. No, it's not. In the most basic of terms, in Doom and some older games, the X and Y coordinates are calculated and stored differently, which means when you move forward and to the right at the same time, those two inputs combine, letting you go faster. This allows you to move at great speeds, allowing you to scale further jumps and make it past timed closing doors. Now we get into the fun part. There's two most common strafe running speeds, SR40 and SR50. The 40 and 50 are talking about the sideways strafing speed. The run forward speed is 50 in both cases. The total is a combination of both. These numbers refer to the thrust outputted by commands. The actual player movement speed is also influenced by drag and other factors. I won't lie, I'm getting most of this from the wiki and I don't know what it's talking about. It also talks about the turbo parameter, which changes on the amount of speed and thrust exerted by commands. I believe SR40 is just talking about the basic holding forward and right at the same time to go faster. I like to pretend I know everything about Doom, but doing this Iceberg has just made me realize I don't think I can ever know everything, and that kind of pisses me off. But then I look at how SR40 is a result of the square root of 40 to the power of 2 plus 50 to the power of 2 equaling 64, which is 120% of normal run forward speed. I have no idea what that means. It's on the wiki. The Doom engine usually caps player movement at 50, but it considers the forward and backwards and strafing separately, which allows both inputs to be combined to run faster. SR50, from what I understand, is a faster version of strafe running. From what I am reading, and I am pretty sure I am wrong about this, you put multiple inputs to strafing and it adds the multiple instances of strafing buttons to increase your speed, because a single strafe input produces a speed of 40, so two inputs can increase the maximum speed, but it caps out at 50. But then the wiki's also saying it doesn't cap out at 50, or Doom doesn't have a cap. Doom speedrunners have this automated. Some source ports like DSDA Doom have an automatic SR50 via the menu option, which can cause it to be turned on with no churning restriction. There's this, and then there's wall running. Look, man, I like the sci-fi helmet guy. I like that he kills demons. People warned me that the game was demonic, and I didn't believe them until I saw this. According to John Romero, this was never intended and wasn't really discovered until almost a year after the original release. And apparently Andrew Stein, the founder of Doom World, has a whole movement Bible on Doom which talks about this. Do I even try to explain those? I'll put those as a maybe in extra life mode. Man, the people who made TNT Evolution have a lot more backstory than I thought. Originally, they were just a Doom mailing list in 1994, and they're mostly known for TNT Evolution and Vital Doom, as well as several other free level packs and developer resources for Doom 2. We talked about source ports earlier, and one of the most popular ones is the Boom engine, which was used by many level designers in the height of Doom modding. They started off as an editing mailing list, which my Zoomer brain doesn't know what that is. TNT was originally formed as a two-group entity, the Alpha Group focusing more on level design and mod work with pre-existing Doom 2 assets, and the Beta Group being more focused on partial and total conversions. However, the Beta team quickly got dissolved after the official formation of the Team TNT Trust, the legal entity that dealt with it during the talks of Final Doom, which apparently Evolution was going to be released for free, but the night before the release, a deal was made by John Romero, resulting in the game's commercialization, which led to some controversy. Also, the name of the WOD originally meant Trials and Tribulations, according to Dario Casali, but later officially became the New Technology. Team TNT has done quite a bit, and it's not just the people who made TNT Evolution. They've released several custom WODs for Doom. I mean, I didn't know that they made the Boom engine, and being the youngling I am, every time I hear someone talk about the good old days of Doom modding, they bring up the Boom engine. I'm like, wow, these guys were much more influential than I thought. Which also, knowing how well known they were with the community and them taking a deal to have the thing that they said they were going to make for free not free, it's kind of disappointing. Okay, I've been talking about so many things about Doom's history and intricacies and stuff that's fun to know, trivia, but now we get into my turbo nerd status. Samuel Hayden is a very interesting character. He was really fleshed out in 2016 in an Internals base game. Many complained about his demotion to just being a lore narrator, but I mean, what can he do like this? In 2016, it says Hayden was born into the wealthy and powerful Hayden family, which, if you've played Ancient Gods Part 1, this raises quite a bit of questions. He later gets his master's in theoretical physics at Oxford while showing talent in several other fields. At a young age, he established the Samuel Hayden Foundation, a philanthropic organization dedicated to sponsoring young scientific talent. And funding scientific programs in schools and colleges. His incredible intellect made him a prime target for the UAC, and they recruited him soon after he was appointed General of the Global Science Council. He becomes the leader of the UAC a few months after the discovery of the Argent fracture. And after its discovery, he immediately puts the Argent Tower into production. While the tower is being constructed, he gets diagnosed with stage 4 inoperable brain cancer and given 6 months to live. With this, he dedicates the last few months of his life to building himself a new body in what we know today as his iconic image. The functions of his front and temporal lobes were to remain intact, but the functions of his parietal and occipital lobes were to be bypassed and networked into the plasmatronic core. Samuel's personality, memories, reasoning, and comprehension would be carried over to his new framework, but his perception and calculation would become supercharged. Stem cells and neural conditioning agents kept his organic matter, specifically his brain, constantly rejuvenating, and he has existed, quote-unquote, for over 130 years. And it's presumed his lifespan will be indefinite. And like I said, this lore gets pretty complex in Tag 1 when it's revealed Samuel Hayden was actually Samur Maker, or the Seraphim, or one of many Seraphims, but the father's favorite Seraphim. In the character codex for the Seraphim, it says Samur made a cloned body, which in fiction there's a ton of different meanings for cloned. I'm assuming it means he made a cloned human body and transferred his consciousness into it. It says he later again transferred his body into an artificial body, which leads me to believe he created a human body and then transferred his mind into that. It could mean several different things. Maybe he just shapeshifted into a human. Maybe he just human. In Doom 2016, you can see a portrait of his human body. Supposedly, he put himself in the artificial body to bypass ancient laws that makers can't step foot into hell. So it's reasonable to believe the cancer and accelerated lobes of the human brain was just a cover story. Some people say that Hayden being the Seraphim is stupid, but I for one think it's pretty cool, as Hugo Martin describes him as an egotistical and self-serving being, considering he almost killed his master. They keep talking about in Dark Ages that they want things to be more on screen and not in the codex, which I'm recording this on April 11th, and hopefully I can get it out before May 13th. But so I really hope we see more of how the father and Samur went from the Seraphim and the father to Vega and Samuel Hayden. In Super Gorness, once you get to the canal, if you find these 3 balloons and pop them, you'll hear a group of disappointed kids. If they don't pop, just load your checkpoint. Happens to me all the time. Then go to this birthday cake and grab a supercharge to summon 2 tyrants. They can be pretty easily defeated if you save the quad damage power up. Thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it. I was cutting it close because I really wanted to get this out before Dark Ages, and I am currently recording this outro May 7th, and so I have 6 days until the early access. Again, I said in the previous video, the next one won't come out for a while, and by a while I mean however long it takes me to replay Dark Ages enough to where I get bored of it. I'm really excited for the game. My boss even called me and he was like, "You're gonna take time off, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yes," which shout out to my boss. I don't know if he wants me saying his real name, but he's been a big motivator for me to make these videos. And I'm really excited because, like I talked about, I'm pretty sure they're going to tie it into Doom 3. We were seeing screenshots of Hebeth. I really think that's going to be the lost city or ancient civilization from Mars. And they're going to tie that into the Soul Cube and humans going to Earth. Or, I'm sorry, the Argenta going to Earth and becoming humans. I'm gonna nerd out about it forever. That's just my theory, but I've never speculated like that before, so I don't expect to be right. Again, thank you for watching. I really do mean it. I keep getting really nice comments on all my videos, and it's just a big motivator. And hopefully, once I am done with my Dark Ages binge, I will be able to get the next episode out as soon as possible. So once again, thank you guys so much, and my friend Hayden says hi.